And we are live. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. I see a lot of good people in the chat. Thank you for being here. Boba Fett Gaming, I always see you in here. It's good to see Patrick. We've got some new faces here. I think it's who we got. Paul AFC. What's up? How you doing? Toto Dope. How you doing? Good to have you guys here. It's Timmy's here as well. Thank you. Today we're going to have a great show because I have a great guest, honestly. This is somebody that I have a lot of history with. It's someone you guys may not know I have a lot of history with, but I'll tell you one thing. First of all, I want to welcome you, Kmega405. Kmega is here. Thank you for being here. But I got to say a few words because when I started in this community many, many moons ago, okay, I've known Kmega almost 6 years now, probably about 6 years. Kmega, through a mutual friend, was the first guy to give me my first shot on a podcast, a gaming podcast within this community. Now, I was podcasting before, mixed martial arts and stuff, but coming into this community, brand new, didn't know many people at all. Kmega, I want to thank you for getting me involved in this community because really you put more limelight on me right away than I had ever gotten before that. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, no problem, brother. I mean, listen, the talent, the ability, anybody that's been on GRG, past, present, when I ask people, it's because they're talented. They just have skills and it's not just me that makes GRG or anything like that or any podcast out there. I mean, it's the personalities that's there. And I mean, you,
the Delilah HD,
100, Delilah, Infamous,
yes,
108 Dragons, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and then of course we got Ham Solo now and D and Curvy Titan, she called herself on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, D, yes, she was great. When I guested on the show, she's a great personality to have as well.
Yeah. And then I'm saying Sir X-Man is on there now, and then Yobi, he comes on and just like I said, there's Mitchie and all that. Like I just appreciate there's Livewire that's on there. He's a personality, and there was Triple Cup Chuck and all that. So I appreciated everybody that's been on there, and listen, like I said, if it wasn't for them being as talented as they were, GRG wouldn't still be lasting. And so and you included, man.
That's
so
true.
And I'm happy for everybody's success. For everybody.
Oh yeah, it's great to see grown women gaming spread their wings.
Yes.
Honestly, one day I've had Delilah on, but I would love to have the whole grown women gaming cast on all at once. That would be fun. Because I really appreciate what they do as well. I don't always get a chance to watch it live, but I do listen after, and I really do appreciate those women. They do a great job. Real gamers there. I love that about them. They sit there and they just talk games, man. And that's what's amazing about those people there. Anyways, but I had to give you your flowers, man, because honestly,
appreciate it, brother.
You were the first dude that gave me a shot, man. And if it wasn't for All Day telling me that, I appreciate All Day for, bringing me on the podcast. But I remember after that first episode, after the show, you're like, hey, can you make it next week? And I was like, really? He wants me on again? I felt so good, bro. You don't even know. It made me feel really good to get off again.
Delilah and Infamous was going crazy over your voice. So I was like, man, let's go ahead and bring the dude on here, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Don't put that on them. That was all you. Take credit for that.
It was. Credit. No, no, man. Just the talent, man. It's just amazing, man. You know what I'm saying? The GRG at his hypes, man. It was great, man. You guys was fantastic.
But it's definitely good to have you on this show. Before I get too far ahead, I want to get these super chats. Danny Passion Official, thank you very much, brother. This guy's here every week. I want to be a millionaire. Hit that like button. Oh,
we all.
Okay, so the millionaire thing. Okay, so I did a little skit with Gaz on his sauce video today. Yeah, something really silly, but he asked me to do it. So it was that millionaire show that used to be out, that game show back in the day. Anyways, it was a play on that. It was a parody of that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked that. That was fun. But yeah, so it's good to have you on because Kmega, if my audience doesn't know you, I'm sure they do. Many people that are in the audience right now know you. Delilah HD's in the chat. Good to see you. Miss K, good to see you too.
Miss K, that's
awesome.
the goat. That's
She's
the
awesome.
goat, man.
Yeah. I liked her videos, even her gun videos and stuff. YouTube will probably demonetize me for saying that word, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'm all
Miss
good
K.
with that. Miss K is awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I wanted to get you on here. But also I wanted you to tell everybody, give everybody kind of a brief history of your gaming history, so to speak. I mean, where did it all start for baby Kmega? That's what I want to know.
Oh man, it started when I was 3 years old in a laundromat.
It was in diapers.
Yeah, I was. My mom was. She was tired of me running around being a knucklehead. So at 3 years old, so it was just we would go to the laundromat every week, and she just was like, okay, here's some quarters, go play this thing that's looked like a table. And so I go to it, and it's Pac-Man. And I get invested into it. I enjoy it. I like it. It keeps me from running around. That was my first arcade game, because I was trying to play pinball, but it was too tall at the time. And so but the table arcade was right there. I could sit up on the bench and just start trying to play it. And then of course they added Galaga to it, and then that just changed everything. My whole gaming life was just changed. And so every time that I would come to the laundromat, they would know. And so even the people that were the owners of the laundromat, they would just give me free quarters because they wouldn't see my little ass running around. so it just acted up. So it just turned from there. And then they eventually moved and this was years keep going to the laundromat. They added Joust. One of the tall arcades. They took away the pinball machine, and that was one of my favorite games, and it still is to all time, man. I hit a record when I was older at that arcade, on that arcade system, and it held up until the laundromat closed down. So I felt very proud about that. But yeah, that was the very start.
That was the catalyst.
Just moved on. Yeah, and then just kind of moved on to Atari. Because they knew that I was
get into the Atari, though, I want to talk about the arcades for a bit. Now, you were talking about going to the laundromats, but did you go to arcades as you were growing up?
Not when I was younger. I went to the arcades once I got older, kind of became a preteen and could get out. And yeah, we used to go to Le Mans at the mall and stuff like that. One
thing I loved about the arcades, and I still do, if I see one, I'll go in one, check it out, play a couple of games, is the sights and sound of the arcade. It's just that nostalgic feeling you get even now when you walk into an arcade. It's like stepping back in time. And I love that, especially when you see that some of them will have retro arcade machines in the back or something. And those, it's just, I don't know, something about the pinball machines and everything, the sounds of that going off as people are playing something over here. They could be playing Galaga, somebody's playing a pinball machine, maybe Twilight Zone or whatever it is. I love the sounds of the arcade. It's so awesome to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I enjoyed the arcade as well. There was a place called Jamaica Joe's I used to go to and frequent quite a bit when I got older. Of course, the arcades at the mall. And then they were announcing that, and it never happened, but they were going to bring a Sega World to Oklahoma, and I was ecstatic. But it never happened. But and that was in the time and the phase when arcades were kind of going down and not as popular as they used to be.
Yeah. So of course you got into the Atari 2600, I assume. Same
Yes.
Thing I did. That was my first console as well. So what did you play on that first? What was like, or at least you can remember?
Dodgem was the first game that I played. It was like it was like Pac-Man, but it was with car. And
I don't remember
so
that one.
Yeah, people can look it up. It was called Dodgem. That was my first game that I got. And then of course there was Pitfall. And then kind of like from that, it was just those were the two games that I had for the longest time. And then
because when we were kids growing up, I mean, I'm sure your parents were kind of the same, whereas like you'd get one game and you might have that game for 6 months.
Right,
literally,
yeah,
we couldn't
yeah,
afford much, and our parents would be like, "Look, this is what you got. Play it to death,"
mhm,
and we
right,
did.
right. And then they bought ET,
Oh
and
man,
and
that put you off gaming for good, didn't it?
well,
Oh, that was
I
terrible.
I never knew what to do with that game, so I just like okay, and so I'm just gonna go outside and play, and so that kind of got me off of just because I played Dodgem until like you was just saying, like our parents didn't buy uh games like that, so it was just more of a thing where I was like, okay, well, let me just go outside and play because I don't know how to play this ET game, and that was it. So and I
You
played a
kept
little bit of
falling
the
in the hole,
Commodore
didn't
from
you?
my
You
friend's
kept
house.
falling in that
Yeah,
hole. Yep. That ET
yeah,
game
yeah.
was terrible.
The only thing I can remember knowing how to do was lifting up his neck. That's that, and then just walking in and just falling
Yeah,
through, like you
yeah.
said, falling through the hole. That was it. That
Yeah.
was it. That was it.
Yeah, yeah, terrible game. And if you guys haven't seen the documentary, it was on Netflix for a time. It was about ET. It was about the game that kind of destroyed gaming. Like
Mhm.
gaming fell apart, and ET was one of those games that started that whole thing. It was like the catalyst that made games just go to the wayside, and Nintendo came
Yeah.
back and kind of brought gaming back into homes again. That's
Mhm.
when, for a time there, arcades got a little more popular again after the
Right.
Atari and stuff. But yeah, the Nintendo put it right back. And I assume you got a Nintendo as well, eventually.
Yeah, that was the because like at that point in time, like I was playing Atari, and then I remember that Christmas I got these, and I don't know if you remember, you should because you're very nostalgic
Yeah,
like
I'm
I
very
am.
old. Yeah, just say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're around the same age, so
Yeah,
yeah.
we're very old. Yeah. We're in our
Yes,
late 40s. Let's
we're
just say that.
seasoned. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're seasoned.
Hmm.
So the little mini arcades. Do you remember there was
Oh,
little
yeah,
mini
the little,
arcades that you could play?
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
I wanted one so bad. My mom would
I
not
got
get me one.
I got
Oh,
two of them.
man.
One was Donkey Kong, another one was a racer. I hated the racing game. I didn't understand. I didn't like it, but I played the hell out of the Donkey Kong game, and
Oh,
so I had those. So that kept me off of the Atari. And then the point you was talking about the NES. I remember going to Walmart Superstore. This tells you how far that was, how long ago that
hmm.
was when it was called Superstore. And I remember seeing this game that reminded me of Joust, and it was Balloon Fight. And
Oh,
I was like,
yes.
what is this?
Yes.
And so and there was a bunch of kids. We're just all there, and so I wait for my turn to play, and I fell in love instantly. And then the thing was switched. You could play Ice Climber, and then there was Kid Icarus. And I was in love. And so I remember I
Hmm.
kept asking my grandmother, like, I want to get that. I want to get that. And of course, they're just looking at me like I'm crazy. Like they looked at the price. They're like, are you crazy? And eventually that Christmas, I got one, and
Nice.
I lost my mind from it. Yeah. And then that just got the console game juices flowing again. And even more so because these games were more playable than what it was on the Atari 2600. So
Oh, of course. I mean,
yeah.
talk about a big step up in graphics and
Oh my
everything.
gosh,
When you're going
everything.
from that Atari 2600, where you were
Hmm.
a literal square in some games, Adventure being one of those, and then you see
Hmm.
the graphics, on the Nintendo, and you're like, oh my God, I can actually make these characters out. And it was just such a different time. And after the Nintendo, did you go into the Super Nintendo? And
No, I
no,
after that, no, 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 no.
wow.
That's when I got heavy into the arcades. I was mostly
Oh,
in the
okay.
arcades, and then I got introduced to the Sega Genesis. I didn't never play the Master System at that time.
Yeah,
I knew about it. I played it later on in the years when I became an adult, but never at that time when it
really.
first came out. And I jumped straight to the Genesis, and and it was only because there was a game that reminded me of Ninja Gaiden, which was Shinobi. And so then I was like, okay, this isn't Ninja Gaiden, but this plays amazing. What is this? And so I went ahead and earned it. At this point, I was a preteen. I was
That was a great
mowing
game.
lawns. Yeah, mowing lawns and cutting people's grass and stuff and earn a little bit of money during the summer and stuff like that. So I could go ahead and I could get my own. But yeah, no. And then I just got a Sega Genesis and was just going from there. And it just, that's when the start of me becoming a huge Sega fan started. And I didn't even really care about the Super Nintendo at that point because I enjoyed everything that Sega was offering until there were people that were real big Super Nintendo fans, and of course, at that time, that's when the the real true rivalry was what happened between Sega and Nintendo, and there was friends' house. I would go over there, and we would play Mortal Kombat and stuff like that, and the graphics were better on the Nintendo and stuff like that. And then so what I wanted to do was get myself a Nintendo so I could learn how to play on the Nintendo better, because the controls were different compared to the original NES. So that's when I eventually did give me a Super Nintendo. But yeah, no, it was Sega all the way at that point in time. So
yeah. Did you eventually get the Dreamcast as well?
Oh yeah, I got the Dreamcast. Yeah. I did skip the Saturn. I did
Saturn
have friends
was
that
so
had
good,
Saturn.
and a lot of people skipped it. I remember that. A lot of people skipped it, but I got it.
Skipped it.
And funny enough, I had gotten it from a pawn shop.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
Somebody pawned it off like maybe 6 months after it came out. Like it was that soon. Like I saw it in a pawn shop window, and I said, I want that. So I went in there and bought it. I remember, spending my own money on that. But yeah, Saturn was a great console. So after the Dreamcast for me is my favorite console ever. I mean, I love that console. There was so many great games, but also the console itself was just so ahead of its time. It had so much going for it. And Microsoft was a big part of that, guys. They put the Ethernet in the back of that console so you can have, play your games online and everything. It was just so ahead of its time. And what was your favorite console, by the way?
PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1.
For an Xbox guy, you see that, guys.
I know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The PS1 is the GOAT. The GOAT.
It was a good one.
And then and right there is the 360 to me, but then the Dreamcast is right there. They're all three kind of combined, but the PlayStation 1 was just the next thing for me. And like you said, like if there was a way that I could have got the Saturn, I would have definitely wouldn't have been a problem. I would have got the Saturn because I wanted the Saturn. But the one thing, at that time, we're still like maybe seniors in high school or junior seniors in high school, or for me at that point in time, I'm working a job. I got a kid, so economics just wasn't right. And then I seen this thing called PlayStation, and it was $100 cheaper, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a shot. But I was still reluctant. But there was a friend of mine named Freddie B. He passed away a couple of years ago. Rest his soul.
Sorry to hear that.
But he introduced me to 989 games, there's a football game called Game Day.
Oh, I played it all the freaking time, bro. Game Day.
And I loved it. Yeah, because I was huge in sports games. And so I was like, man, this is amazing. Of course, the graphics then, if people look at the graphics, if these younger generations look at the graphics.
It was amazing for its time. Don't even go there. It looked awesome.
Bro, graphic. I'm like, look at these graphics. Yep. And then he introduced me to the game of all games for me, and still my favorite franchise.
I know what's coming.
Of all time. You know it, Tekken. And I could not. I said, what is this? What is this? Because Virtual Fighter was at the arcades, but Tekken was not at the arcade. And so when I got a chance to play Tekken, and that was it. I was like, I'm getting this PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then it was all she wrote after that, man. I didn't even try to get a Saturn because I was all just enthralled behind this PlayStation, man. It blew my mind for just
I hear you.
How many games that console had at that time.
Oh, I hear you, man. And yeah, you bring up a lot of good memories, because those fighting games, I played a lot of them as a teen. A lot. Because we had so many in the arcades, man. Everything from Tekken, Street Fighter 2, Championship Edition was the one I played all the time. I mean, that one, I spent so many quarters into that machine daily. We'd be walking home from school, and there was this mini mart, and they had one in there. And I remember the guy didn't like no more than like 4 students in at the store at the time. So every time like there'd be a line of kids coming up, he'd tell us to go out because we'd be playing the game so much. And we'd have to, we're not done yet. I'm still playing. I had to wait till I died or something, or, and then walk out. It was just, it was an addiction, bro. It was an addiction.
But I was all over the fighters, of course, and playing games like Pitfall, if people remember that old classic. Yeah. That was an arena fighter, stuff like that. And the PlayStation was the console that got me back into consoles heavy. and I kind of wasn't doing the arcade thing as strong as I was at that time. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I have a little thing I do here, and I want to play a game with you here today. And of course, it's a little trivia game. I'll ask you 4 trivia questions and 1 subjective questions, and I like to call it 5 questions. All right. So this is 5 questions.
All right.
You're on the show, Mega. It's like going back. We're time traveling back to the 80s, to an 80s game show. And we're here. And we're again, 4 questions and 1 question that is subjective. Here's the first question. Oh, I got to play my my music here because we need the intense music playing in the background. It's my game show music.
Right.
In this game, players compete in a futuristic version of soccer only using cars. What is that game?
Only using cars?
Futuristic version of soccer only using cars. It's a game.
And this was in the 80s.
No, this is out now.
Oh, Rocket League.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Now, these questions are all over the place. So that some of them could be from older games, newer games, current game. It doesn't matter. The John Madden football series has long been a favorite of football video game enthusiasts. Can you tell me who is on the cover of this year's John Madden, the latest entry coming up?
Oh, it's John Madden.
Correct, sir. This is too easy for Kmega. Look at him.
Oh, my goodness.
He's like, I can't believe it. I already got 2 of the 4. I'm going to ace this. All right. What was the name of the... Okay, so this is kind of tricky. What was the name of the original Master System before it was remodeled and rebranded for U.S. sales? This is a hard one, because I didn't know this.
Oh, man. I believe somebody told me this, but I forgot because I'm old.
Take a stab at it.
Yeah, I'm going to just say I'm just going to say what I said earlier, the Master System, the Sega Master System. I don't got that.
Unfortunately, no. It was called the Sega Mark III before it was rebranded for U.S. sales. I'd never heard of that until recently.
Yeah, somebody told me that.
The Sega Mark III.
UK. Yeah.
All right.
Didn't know.
Here's your 4th question.
Okay.
Who voiced Eddie Riggs, the protagonist in the game Brutal Legend?
Oh man. The last name is Black. I don't know his actual what he's oh my goodness. What is his name? Something Black, right? I don't know his first name.
That's true.
Yeah.
It rhymes with Black. I'll give you that.
Okay, yeah. But okay, so he was in the School of Rock.
Yeah, his first name rhymes with Black. You know exactly who it is.
Yeah, I know exactly who it is. I just don't, I'm not good with it.
It's Jack Black. I'll give that to you.
Jack Black.
You know exactly who the guy is. You named one of his films, and you named his last name. I'll give that to you. Yes, Jack Black. Okay. All right. So here's your 5th and final question. This is subjective. Favorite gaming experience of all time?
Taking my son to play Halo. We did LAN parties, and I kept him away from school that next day.
I love that.
I mean, the next day. That was.
I love that answer. LAN parties were everything, bro.
Yeah.
Back in the OG Xbox
he was
days.
8 years old at the time, and he was like, "Am I going to have to go to school?" I'm like, "No, son. I'll just call in. They'll just go ahead and just enjoy this LAN party." It was his first
Great dad. Great dad. I love that, man. And how old is your son now?
He is 28.
Listen to that, folks. 28. Wow. But yeah, I mean, that was great times. Yeah, I will accept that answer, even though it's subjective. I have the power to say if I don't like it or not. But yes, I definitely accept that answer. You got 4 out of the 5 questions right. So good for you, man. You did very well.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, thank you.
So anyways, I don't know why my Stream Deck just stopped working, and I don't know why.
We're doing it live.
I don't know why it stopped working, folks, but we'll do it this way. Fine.
Yes,
You don't want to
sir.
work for me, Stream Deck? I see how you want to be. Okay, so now we're going to get into the first topic. Basically, this is about Spider-Man Remastered. It's hit the PC Mega to critical acclaim. You can now play the game at its highest fidelity, just its highest specs, provided your PC is able to do so, thanks to Insomniac Games and, of course, the port masters over there at Nixxes. Mega, I know you're primarily an Xbox guy, but you have played this on your PC. I saw you on Twitter playing a bit of it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on what a lot of people are calling one of the best ports ever?
Yeah, no, I would have to agree so far for what I played. I've only put in about maybe 3 hours in. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a fantastic port. I mean, it's really smart for Sony to put their games on PC. I've said that back in 2016, 2017, when Xbox did it, I said Sony was going to do it and it would be smart if they did. And now it looks like that it's paying off because God of War is really taking off. But yeah, Spider-Man, it plays fantastic. I will say though, for so far that even though I really think that this is a really fantastic port, I still think that God of War is better. But I still need more time with Spider-Man to say it because I mean, God of War just popped like right off the bat. Like I was just like, oh my God, it was really fantastic to play that game on PC. And then another game that a lot of people may not think about is Death Stranding, how well that plays as well on PC. But yeah, Spider-Man, you know, big shout out to Insomniac for making a good quality title. I bought it on PlayStation 4 day one, but at that time when I started playing, I just wasn't feeling it. And probably because of all the other games that I was playing at that particular time, or because I was busy with work, stuff like that. But now going through it and playing it again, and I think playing Miles Morales helped out a lot because I beat that just a few months ago, and I really was enjoying that. So I'm gonna give Spider-Man a chance. And then they announced that it was coming to PC. I was like, okay, all right, let me go ahead and get it on PC. And sure enough, I'm pleased with the purchase for sure.
Yeah, I really liked Miles Morales better than Spider-Man 2018. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I personally, I don't care for Miles Morales' voice in the game. I don't like the high-pitched voice. It's kind of
very corny. Very corny. Yeah.
Corny is the right word for it.
Yeah.
But I loved his movesets. I love the mechanics in that game. I just like the different movesets that he had opposed to what Spider-Man had in the 2018 game. So, yeah, for me, it was just a more pleasurable experience. And I liked the game overall better because of that. But, you know, we see all the time people talking about acquisitions and stuff. And, you know, we know that, you know, here they got Nixxes a couple of years back, and everybody was kind of, you know, wondering what was Nixxes going to do for them. They basically port things to the PC, port games to the PC. And we kind of knew what they were going to do on our side. At least people talking on the Xbox side were saying, oh, they're going to port games. I know a lot of people were using that as fuel for console as well, but it was kind of obvious, right?
Right.
But looking at it now, do you think that this puts Nixxes on the map as being one of the better acquisitions for PlayStation now?
Absolutely. I mean, regardless of what the fan boys or ladies say in regards of not liking these games being put on PC, I mean, it was very smart for Sony to make this decision, like I said earlier, and for them to pick up Nixxes. And really, I didn't know that much about Nixxes either. And so to see the work that they're doing, people know that they can have quality games coming and being ported over on PC when PlayStation decides to start releasing these other IPs over there to play onto the PC. It's gonna be great. I think it was a really smart move by them.
Very smart move. Just as the Bungie deal is very smart as well, because they're going to take their expertise, and what they do, and put it into other types of games that they create.
Put it in multiplayer, something that PlayStation definitely needs.
Exactly. And that's something that, again, a lot of Xbox guys have been saying for many years now, and a lot of, you know, Sony guys were like pushing back saying, no, we don't need all that. We've got the, you know, these great games that they already push out. And it's like, well, you need a bit of everything. That's what you really need. I mean, especially with the way the market is going, you could see the market transitioning to, let's just be honest, it's a digital world now, and
Yes.
people love gamers, consumers, whatever you want to call them. They really do like these services. They like what Game Pass has to offer, and that is something that Xbox, and I know a lot of people push back when they hear this, but they are leading the industry that way. This is what's happening. And I'm sure you wouldn't disagree with that at all.
No. I mean, matter of fact, I mean, you know, I'm going to double down on that because I mean, it's apparent. Like they have set a trend on social gaming. They once Xbox Live was introduced, it may have took a while for it to kick in, but once the 360 was there, it just introduced a whole different vibe. And as me as being a person, as you heard me say, my favorite console of all time is the PlayStation 1. I mean, I'm still you know, was diehard PlayStation until about the PlayStation 3 era. And then I realized that I enjoyed social gaming. And even though I was one of the later adopters into online gaming, because I was kind of still in that PlayStation mold of, you know, just kind of playing games or couch co-op, stuff like that. But there's just a whole different experience to that. And even though like Xbox needs what Sony has in the sense of single player experiences, PlayStation needs what Xbox has in those multiplayers, and that is the future. That's just the future of it. I mean, that more and more gamers, they do single player games are important, but multiplayer games are the lifeblood of the industry, in my opinion.
100%, man. You know, they look. You need variety is the spice of life. You know,
right?
That's it. And for a service to really do well. Their premium service needs more of those to bolster their service. They also need to go day and date with all their games.
I agree 100%.
That's 100%. Yeah. And you agree too. And it's not a fanboy thing or anything. It's a consumer thing. It's what I want. I personally look at it from only my perspective. I see Game Pass. I see value in the fact that they're putting all their games in their day and date. That's what I like to see. That's why I'm subscribed. As soon as PlayStation does that with their premium service, hey, I'm there. Day one.
Me too.
You know, as soon as they put those in there, I'm there. Because this is what I want. And I'm not the only one. There's millions of others that like it as well. I mean, it's speaking for itself. There's a reason why Xbox keeps pumping money into their service, because it's doing well. Anybody that says, oh, they're not doing well over there, or it's not making money, is just fooling themselves at this point. Because
Xbox hit better numbers than they've ever had, I think, in their history.
Yeah, and it's partly due to the services were up.
Right.
The services were up. So
sales were
that narrative's
sales were down on certain sales were down, but then other but like you said, the services were up. That is the indication right there. Something that I also said years ago is that when this new generation comes, it's going to be about features and services that's going to dictate the market. And of course, you know, I'm not the biggest channel out there, so it doesn't resonate like what somebody else would say it, but it's still the facts. The facts are there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, PlayStation wouldn't have made this move of having PlayStation Plus if this wasn't something that they looked at and thought at and looked to say, man, I mean, we're looking at our competition and they're just rolling it over. Eventually, they're going to have to put their games on there soon or day and date in order for them to try to compete with Game Pass. If not, then Game Pass is just going to roll everything over. So, I mean, 100%. That's just my opinion on it. Yeah.
All right. So going back to the acquisition talk of Nixxes and stuff, do you see Sony looking to acquire anybody else in the near future? And who would that be?
Square Enix. I just think that's
you
just
really
the right marriage for them. Yeah, I do. Well, go ahead.
Why buy? I look at it like this. Why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free? I mean, they seem to be getting a lot of deals from them, exclusivity deals. And, you know, I know of course, they're probably paying them some money for sure. But I don't think it's a substantial amount to where it's just insane, you know. I think it's better for them to keep this going for them the way it is, rather than buying the entire publisher, because I think that would cost. Of course, it would cost them billions. But I just they've had such a great relationship for so many years, Mega, that I just don't see them buying them outright.
I mean, I can understand your point, and that is true. But one thing that we do know is that things change over time. And even though they've had this great relationship over time, let's say that the next person that's in charge of Square Enix has a different approach.
Maybe.
And they are more, and they are more lenient and want to put, and they look at it like just not making enough revenue, even though the PlayStation is giving us so much money to keep these games exclusive for a time. I think that it's better to just put these games out day and date so we can get the money that we want. And I think to just be more profitable. I mean, now this is all hypothetical, but I just think that PlayStation is the way that they've approached the game by holding games off of systems. That's been their lifeblood. But the best way to do that is just to keep it, just to own that company and keep it away, and then pick and choose what games they will allow to get on there. Because I think that they want the control, because you just never know what the other company might do, regardless of how much that they might pay them for certain IPs. Mm-hmm. If you got that whole publisher locked down, then you have the say so of what goes where, when it goes there. So that to me, I think that's what I think it would just benefit Sony all the way around, because like I said, it just, when you think of Call of Duty, you think of Call of Duty as a shooter. You think of, people call Xbox a shooter box, but then you look at Sony, game of single player experience, Final Fantasy. They're the ones that introduced us to Final Fantasy VII, and that's one of the most iconic Final Fantasy games out there, or RPGs, JRPGs of all time. So that just, to me, just screams.
And when you think about the fact that, they've pretty much cut the fat off, so to speak, of their Western division over there at Square Enix. Now it's like they're pretty much all those Japanese games and JRPGs and stuff like that. But you're right. Mm-hmm. Bringing up Final Fantasy is still kind of a sore spot, because it sucks that Final Fantasy VII Remake has not been brought over to the Xbox yet. And it's been well over 2 years, right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
It upsets me as well, because I was willing to support, because I got it on PC.
I have it on PS5.
And I have it, and I bought it day one on PlayStation, because for me, if I support something, I support it. But for me, it was like, I want to play it on the console that, that I prefer. And so I would like to see that. And I would like Xbox to have more of these type of games, to get back to where they were during the 360 OG Xbox, to that variety that we were talking about earlier. So so for PlayStation to take that game, to hold that game off is smart. But it just feels crummy at the same time. And also, to the point that you was making, I think that's the reason why they have this timed exclusivity for multiple years. Mm-hmm. I feel that is a part of the process for them to look and see about the checks and balances on how much it's going to take to acquire them, and give them time to hold on to those properties until they actually purchase them. Because normally it's just a year. But now they're holding games 2 years plus.
Yeah.
So I think, and they've been mostly Square Enix games. So to me, I think that's a sign of they're thinking about acquiring them.
And this is stuff we're going to get into as well on our next topic, because that's a pretty big one. Okay. But I do want to say that something you brought up earlier about preference. Preference is something that a lot of people in the gaming community see, well, in the fanboy community, I'll say, really can't wrap their head around. And it's so bad at times that you can't just have an opinion on something that you feel is not really important to you, but it could be important to somebody else. And I can see it and respect that and say, okay, I understand it's important to you, but it's not to me. But they can't respect the fact that it's not important to me, and I better like it or else. And I just had that conversation with some people in your thread recently on Twitter.
I was just going to mention that.
The PlayStation controller. This is something that's brought up so many times by people. And it's not like I jumped in a thread saying, hey, like, let's say somebody posted something and said, I really love the PlayStation, features on the controller and yada, yada, yada. And it's not like I jumped in there to be negative on it. Not at all. I was responding to you about the controller and how I usually just turn off all those features because I don't personally like the adaptive control, the adaptive triggers. I like that off, and I don't use Rumble. I don't even use Rumble on the Xbox. It's just not, I don't care. It just wastes battery, in my opinion. That's what it comes down to. And that's my preference. And I'm not hating on the guy who's in there in your thread who's telling you should use them because it makes it more immersive. And if you don't, he's trying to help you out and all this stuff. He's being in there just being really ignorant to the fact that some people just don't care for it. Because you wanted to use an Xbox controller. That's what it was about. You wanted to use an Xbox controller on your PC to play Spider-Man, and he was mad because you weren't using your PlayStation 5 controller. And I thought it was just, come on, man. It's not that big a deal. Preference, man. Preference.
If you go through that, it made a lot of people salty for the wrong reasons, because it's not like I threw shade at anybody. Like, I mean, it was everything. I was praising the game, saying, look, this game, and I'm showing gameplay, showing support for Insomniac, for Spider-Man, for a Sony product.
Yeah.
And I just, only thing I said was that, look, I said playing it on the Xbox controller makes it sweeter. Well, if people know when you play game, the primary or most used controller on PC is the Xbox controller. And for me, and of course, it's the press. I like that. I'm used to the Xbox controller now after all the years playing PlayStation. I just feel it just feels more comfortable for me. It's not about all the extra, and it wasn't me trying to be saucy or anything like that. It was just me trying to praise the game and then just saying I like playing it on the controller. And the responses. I mean, I got called out my name. I get just everything. Like, I'm cheap. I don't know anything about quality. All because of, like you said, a preference. And when people come out and they do the same thing, or they post if they're playing a PC or playing an Xbox game with a PlayStation DualShock, good for you. Sometimes I might like it. I'm not going to respond to it because it might be bait. But even if it is or it's not, like if that person enjoys it, then why should I be upset about that person being happy playing games? That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's what the community is supposed to be about at the end of the day, is enjoying games. That's it.
Facts. And we all have preferences, people. Like, if I prefer to have my controller just, not do anything in my hands except control the game, that should be my preference. I find immersion in games through the game itself, through the mechanics, through the story, through the gameplay. Yes. I don't care about these gimmicky features. That's what I call them. And I get hate for calling them gimmicks, but to me, they're gimmicks. To me, they may not be to you. They could be life-changing to you. And I can say, I respect that, but respect my, preference as well. I just don't care for it.
Yeah, I respect the speaker and the haptic triggers and all that, but only thing I want is rumble, and I'm good. I don't want all that other stuff. I don't, like when I'm playing the PlayStation and the speaker pops up or something like that. Okay, that's cool, but I mean, it's just not that serious to me.
When it sounds like a tin can, it's not really immersive. It literally sounds like it's coming through a tin can. Remember when you used to play that game with the two cans on the string? And he used to talk into it.
Oh yeah, used to talk into it.
That's the way it sounds. It's. I don't need to hear that. Like, it's not for me.
I'm not.
But anyway, I've got a super chat I have to get to before I move on this topic. Brigadier's Blue, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. He says, it's not a proper Sunday without GTL. Time for one of the best gaming podcasts around. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. High praise. We just got another one. This is from Ultra Watts. He says, I hate the speaker on the PS5 controller. Fonz speaking facts. Yeah, I mean, it is the same way on the PS4. It's tinny. It's not very loud. So I don't know. It's personal preference.
Headsets, wear headsets or,
that's another thing too. If you're wearing a gaming headset and your speaker goes off and you can't even hear it. Like, it's not a big deal. Who cares?
I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, like I said, for people who enjoy it,
but
by all means, enjoy it. Like, I mean, so but to me, it's just kind of like, I'm over here trying to praise a game that you guys praised and love and enjoy, and I'm showing some gameplay of it, showing my appreciation of it, and it turned into something completely different. It was just
it's because they know you as an Xbox guy, so you have to be hating in some way, right?
Some way, whatever.
All right, guys. Well, it's another week, another ad, so here we go. This is the Toilet Roll Talker. Things console fanboys say on social media edition. Let the Toilet Roll Talker transport you back to a special time or place when you first heard or read these statements. Remember this timeless classic?
1080p makes you a better gamer.
Or how about
12 T-flops is better than 9.2.
Folks, there are so many classics built right into this thing that it'll have you rolling for days. You'll hear things like,
just wait till E3. Wait till Gamescom. Wait till the Tokyo Game Show, guys.
and who could forget,
Xbox got no games.
when the gamer in you needs to wipe, let the Toilet Roll Talker bring to you that joy you've been missing in your life again and again.
Wanna see my dick? I'ma show you anyway.
Buy it today at Rice Wine Liquors and other fine retail establishments. All right, there's the.
Oh my gosh!
Get your Toilet Roll Talker at Rice
You're
Wine Liquors.
You're classic with that, brother. You're classic with that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's for every fanboy out there. You know, buy yours today. Only at Rice Wine Liquors, and that's a real store, by the way.
Is that really?
Yeah. It's actually located very near me. But let's just go ahead and move on from that. So, anyways, let's go ahead and talk about Xbox. Okay, so Xbox seems to be fighting back. We have things that were said in I guess there was a document, or at least I think around 27 pages of documents that were leaked. That was complaints to the governing body over at Brazil. I guess, okay, let's just talk about this for sure. I'm all scatterbrained now because that stupid ad. Anyways, so PlayStation last week, we heard about them. They were complaining to the governing bodies there at Brazil over the Activision Blizzard deal to Microsoft. And in that, they were crying about something about how these games like COD, they wouldn't have anything to compete with COD if it were to go to exclusive to Microsoft. And that COD being exclusive to Microsoft, might make it to where gamers might migrate over to that platform. They might make that platform purchase over their own. And I was like, really? Like, is water wet? Of course, that's what exclusive games do that are big for people. That's why you guys do what you do with exclusive games, to try to bring people over to your platform. It's obvious, right? So now we have Microsoft with this 27-page document basically punching back at Sony saying, look, I'm just going to show the document here because this is pretty interesting. Let's go to quote number 1 here. This is what Microsoft says. Considering that exclusivity strategies have been at the core of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the games industry, and that Sony is a leader in the distribution of digital games, Sony's concern with the possible exclusivity of Activision's content is incoherent, to say the least. That's pretty big words, right? But it gets more interesting. In this next quote, it only reveals, once again, a fear about innovative business model that offers high quality content at low cost to gamers, meaning Game Pass, threatening a leadership that has been forged from a device-centric and exclusivity-focused strategy over the years. And they go on to say, indeed, Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. Wow. Yeah. What say you on that, Kmega?
I mean, it's facts. I mean, it's the thing. Listen, we all know, even the people that will not admit it, know that Sony is shook behind this. Some people was trying to make this out to be like, well, it's just a part of a strategy. Yeah, it's part of the strategy, but it's the strategy to try to throw a monkey wrench into something to where this does not happen. Because if COD goes to, and when COD goes to, because this deal is going to go through, I'm 98% certain that it will. When COD drops on Game Pass, then it's going to be a serious shift in the market, and it's going to be one of those things that happens pretty quick, and Sony knows that. But even as when we were, like I said, we're the same age, around the same age anyway. And we were ignorant back then, not knowing Sony's practices when all those games that we played, when I was talking about Tekken and Toshinden, and then we looking at like, Legend of Legaia, Legend of Lagoon, all these, Xenogears, all these great, fantastic games, Wild Arms, all these games, right? Most of those games never seen the light of day on Sega or Nintendo. We thought that those games were exclusive to that platform because of the fact that we thought that they owned them. No, they just paid to have those games on their console to keep them there. Mm-hmm. It's the strategy that's worked and that's shut down and made Sega not make consoles anymore and made them a third party. So Sony's strategy has worked and worked and worked and worked, and it almost finished off the Xbox. The only difference is now that Xbox has some true backing from Microsoft now, that the games has changed, and now Sony wants to cry foul, but Microsoft was like, oh, hold on. This is the market leader. How is it that the market leader is going to try to make this point to say, well, we're concerned? If they were in third place, that would be something different. But Xbox is trying to compete, and everybody wants Microsoft to compete. So for Sony to come out and try to make it out that like they're the David facing Goliath, that's not the case. Sony has been the Goliath the whole time. They've had a damn near 30-year run of dominance in certain cases, especially nobody can deny what the PlayStation 2 done to the industry. And so now when you look at this, it's kind of funny, but I am proud of Microsoft for stepping in and saying it's fighting back and saying, look, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. We're just not.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true, man. Like it's just funny to me how Sony can act like that. When you mentioned that they were, they've been dominated doing this essentially for 30 years. They've been keeping games off other platforms for this long. Yeah. This has been their strategy, and it's something that is well pointed out by Microsoft. And I think it's funny, the difference here. Let me ask you, do you find that there's a difference between what Sony has done for the past 30 years in paying for these games to be kept off other platforms from what Microsoft is doing now, which is basically buying a huge publisher that has some big games within and making and putting those on their platform and making money off them? Do you see a big difference between the two?
Not really. I think it's business all at today, regardless if you think it's crummy or not. I don't think that it's not ethical, but it's not, but it's business. It's legal. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it from a standpoint of, well, I should take that back. Yeah, I do see a difference because one company is owning something. They're purchasing an entity, and then the other company is leasing. You know what I'm saying? Leasing or just renting. So it's not really the same. The thing to me is that Sony is, like I said, has been doing this for so long that nobody has really paid attention to it. And now since us gamers, we've gotten older, we pay attention to this stuff more frequent. And we're more involved. Yes. Now we're starting to see how this game is really being played out, and it all came from those leaks from, I believe, the Apple and Epic court situation. So it was just to me like, come on, man. Like, I mean, this, we understand that Sony, you've been doing this. It's just man up, fight. You're over here you've had an opportunity. Just think about this, Fonz, and everybody that's listening. I said this on GRG the Friday night, was their strategy. If Microsoft didn't buy ZeniMax, think about what Sony's lineup was going to be starting off this generation. They would have had Starfield timed exclusive, Ghostwire Tokyo time exclusive, Deathloop they had time exclusive. Then they was going to lock down Final Fantasy 16 for Spoken, on top of having their IPs. I mean, come on. I mean, think about, and then having Starfield right there, and on top of all the rest of that lineup, and no telling what other games is going to be. That was they were trying to give the final blow to Xbox to say, look, you're not going. Nobody's going to be paying attention to your console, no matter how cheap this other the Series S is going to be.
I remember when we were hearing those rumors about them trying to get Starfield exclusive to their platform. And everybody was like, I remember all the Sony guys were really pushing that on Twitter. Oh, we're going to get Starfield. We're going to get Starfield. Oh, how the turns have tabled, it's crazy. I got to go to Colt Eastwood here though, because he said something that was very true. PlayStation wants the world to think that they are the only place to play. 100%, man. Hit it right on the head with that.
Right.
They've been doing that for years. They did it with Destiny. Yep. Remember when they got the rights, the marketing rights for Destiny, they didn't even make that game exclusive, but a lot of people had it in their head that game was exclusive. There was people out there that would buy it on the PlayStation because, hey, that's where they thought Destiny was, because it was all in the stores. All you see was PlayStation and Destiny, and and then they had some exclusive content that they did hold back from Microsoft. So that's all that they could hold back through Bungie. But there's no doubt in my mind that they didn't go to Bungie and try to ask for that to be exclusive altogether.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt in my mind.
And let's just put this, let's just kind of like make this whole thing into the reality of where if Sony had the money to acquire Activision, what do you think Sony would do? Do you think Sony would sit here and try to say,
no,
we'll let Call of Duty come to Xbox? No. That I'm saying, that's the strategy. Like, I mean, we already know that Sony, if they get a hold of something, they are going to make sure that it stays on their platform. It's like Colt said, they want to be the place where the entity where everybody thinks that that's the only place to play. And that's how Sony has been doing that. Like, I didn't know this. Like, we was talking earlier about older games, and I was talking about the Sega Saturn.
Yep.
There were some games that came out on the Sega Saturn that were on PlayStation, but nobody knew about it because Sony had such a grip on everybody's thought process. The one thing about about PlayStation, they were the ones to make everybody feel gaming was cool. If you think about it, when you was growing up, gaming, if you was considered a nerd or whatever, people would try to fight you, beat you up. When you watch anime and stuff like that, that wasn't cool. But PlayStation made a point to where their marketing was so spectacular that it made it seem cool to play video games. So poor Sega Saturn, they didn't have that type of market strategy. And even if they could compete, say, yo, we got this same game here too. It just didn't matter because the cool game, the PlayStation was where the cool kids were. And PlayStation has lived off of that. It's starting to change because of the lack of innovation, in my opinion, and the lack of multiplayer games.
I really only started to hear about console warring during the PlayStation 3 generation and Xbox 360. That's when I got a piece of that. And that's, of course, because of the internet.
Me too.
Before that, I really didn't hear much talk about, my console's better than yours. But I remember in the PlayStation 3, it really ramped up, with the Xbox guys calling it a Foreman grill and things like that. And it was just, there was memes out there about that. And I was like, really? People are really fighting over these consoles? But like with anything else in life, sporting, sports, anything that fanatics can get behind, they're going to do it. And fanatics are going to be there. And I understand that. But it's really weird to me how serious some people really take this stuff. But one thing I wanted to ask you about all this here today is Sony, now that we know, or at least that it's being put out there, that they have been paying to block other, companies from putting their games on other platforms. Do you think their mindset is going to change at all, or do you think Sony's going to continue to do this now that it's out there?
No, not at all. I mean, just think about this when Sony was, because everybody was talking about special delivery, and of course the stands out there were clowning special delivery, and then Sony all of a sudden implemented, well, we got our version of special delivery too, and then they started saying, special delivery. The smart delivery. I said special delivery. Sorry, smart delivery.
Yeah.
And then so Sony was saying, well, we're going to do that too with these games that's going to be on PlayStation 4. Then all of a sudden they tried to make the change with Horizon Forbidden West. PlayStation community, shout out to them. They did not like that. They told Sony how they felt, and then Sony comes around and instead of from what they told people that they were going to do with all these titles that was coming over to the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, they said, well, Horizon Forbidden West is the last one. Every other game you're going to have to pay that
know.
additional $10. So if they are going to just do a about face like that, they're just going to just double down on that. They don't care. They're still going to. Their strategy is not to have that service, Game Pass, to get too far ahead of Sony's service, because if it does, which is already ahead of theirs, but if it goes any further, then it's all she wrote. They won't be able to keep up.
They're going to have to change their mindset, though, going
Right.
forward about services. And I think that's why
Right.
they're kind of starting with this whole premium service over at Sony.
Mhm.
Do you feel they're going to put, because this is what I feel. I think that stuff like when Factions finally does come out by Naughty Dog, I think that's going to be put in their service. I think they're going to sell it, on the side, maybe 40, 50 bucks, but I think they're going to put it in their premium service because that's going to make that more interesting. Do you think that they will start putting more first-party multiplayer games within their service? Like, do you think they're building these live service games for their service?
Yeah, and I believe Faction is going to be a free to play, and then it's going to have a lot of microtransactions, and I think that's going to be one of the games to introduce to try to kick off PlayStation Plus. And now the one thing that they could do is probably they'll start maybe putting those games on PlayStation Premium so they could try to maximize as much money as they possibly can. But I feel that Factions is going to be a free to play because they may give I think they could give an option.
Here's what I disagree with. The reason
okay, go ahead.
The reason why I disagree with them making it free to play. And now Zocker said the same thing, Zocker 87. But I disagreed with him as well because PlayStation is greedier than that. I think that they will put that in their, premium service to entice people away from having to pay for it. Because what would entice people to pay for the premium service just because that free to play, is if I could play that free, why would I even go to the premium service? Well, no, they have to put the game in there to entice people to come in.
Well, that's what I'm saying, in the sense that they would probably make it a free to play game, and it'll be exclusively for the premium.
It's only going to be in there, so you can't play it at all unless you get the premium.
Right, unless,
but then it's not really free because you're still paying for it. Yeah,
then you're still paying for it. So
yeah,
I think that it could be a free to play, but they might add perks to it or something. But they need games like that in order to get people to get on board with that. So I think that probably will be the flagship. But you're right, Sony is they're very greedy. I mean, the Last of Us situation. I don't know how anybody could cap for that personally, but it is what it is. I just think that they need to get that service off the ground, and if they're not going to put their games in there day and date, then they're going to have to put those services in day and date. And that's the only thing that I can see that could help, because just them throwing some older games in there and maybe some games that people have maybe already purchased a year or two down the line, that's not going to work. That's not the winning ticket to have a service to thrive, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're going to have to at least, and they could start off with staggering, after initial release of a first party game, maybe 6 months out, they could put it in their premium service. And that would be enticing. That would be enticing to me because I refuse to pay the $70 anyway, and I have to wait for a sale anyway. So if they do wait a few months, put it in their premium service, I may just get their premium service.
Right.
I would definitely do that. Thank you very much, Colt Eastwood, for the $5 super chat. He says, Sony has shown their fear of Xbox, and with their actions, they are showing they have to follow many of Xbox's moves in modern market past the 2010s. Yeah, it's changing. The industry is definitely changing. We spoke on it a bit earlier. And in that respect, yes, they are leading the industry in that market. They're pushing people to go more digital, whether it be xCloud or Game Pass. This is where the market is headed. And we all see this. And it's not to say consoles are going to completely die out. Eventually they will. When they can get the latency down, and it be 0 or 1-to-1 from the console to xCloud, let's say, definitely they would get rid of the console at that point. But I don't know how long that's going to be. Xbox has already said that they are already looking into their next console. So I think we'll have at least one more generation before it goes the other way.
No doubt, because I think the people that will be all about the consoles are our generation. The younger generation, I don't think that they'll care enough, to be honest with you. For the fact that I think that the console will eventually turn into the album. It's still valuable. It's still worth something for people, but it's just not resonating like when people just go to Spotify or SoundCloud or something like that and just stream some music on the go. And that's where gaming is definitely going to go. People love convenience, and especially the younger generation. They'll talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really think about like the community is big, but it's nowhere as big as the casual market. And the casual market is what dictates everything. And I've always said this: the consoles will still be a factor as long as the market dictates it. But I just don't think that it will over time. I agree with you. Like, I think that there's one more generation, and I feel after that it's going to go. And I feel at that point that Sony will be ready to be more of just a digital publisher than they would be for doing consoles, because it'll be a hell of a lot cheaper.
Well, look at it this way. A lot of people, if you were to tell me, let's go back 8 years. Yeah. If you were to tell me 8 years ago that more gamers would be purchasing digitally than physical, I would have called you a liar. I was going to
talk about that.
Or crazy. Yeah. But the facts remain that well over almost 80% of gamers today are digital gamers now.
Yes.
And that's the facts. Anybody in chat that hears this, or anybody listening to Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, wherever this show is heard, if you disagree with that, you're simply wrong, because that is the facts. Even Sony themselves have laid it out and said that almost 80% of their sales have been digital sales. So this whole forever physical stuff, it's really going away.
It's already a dying fad, and this is the one thing that was so disappointing with during the Xbox One start for listening to fans. Like, now, not taken away from Xbox blunder, their management was awful. They didn't present things properly. None of that.
Oh, but it was terrible. Yeah.
It was terrible. It was terrible, and of course, that was the start of when social media was really kicking off, and everybody was listening to other people, and everybody wanted to be an analyst.
It's really because they pushed TV way too much, bro. There was less emphasis on games. TV. Okay, but there was less emphasis on games, and you can't do that with a games box. That was one of the biggest reasons.
I think that, it was one reason, but I think the biggest factor overall, people didn't like that.
And DRM.
But then and the DRM, but the main factor was the price. That's what hurt Xbox. They got greedy with trying to throw in the Kinect with the Xbox One, and that $500 was an eyesore, because we just came out of a recession. It's all about what I've said before, and what I've said what Sony is doing. They just don't know the timing. Like, who do you have in your room that's not paying attention to the economies across the world? You see what I'm saying? So that in Xbox at that time, because they were floating high off the 360, they thought that they could just come in and just do something ignorant like they did.
Facts.
We're going to lie. And once we found out that they lied about having the Kinect on there, it just made everything, because the features on the Xbox One was fantastic. I love the Snap feature. I love the Kinect. But you can't force the Kinect on people who don't want it. And then you look at this. Yeah, no. Well, I wanted it, but I thought the innovation of the Xbox One was fantastic, except for the Windows 8 stuff. And then, of course, what also hurt the Xbox One was the fact that you couldn't talk to people on the 360. They didn't think that out. But the price was the main factor, and the casual market is not loyal to anyone. So Sony is figuring this out right now, when people are jumping right back on Xbox and buying the Series S because of the price of the price factor, and people buying the hell out of Switches because the price factor. In the time with this economy, you shouldn't be charging people $70 right now. If you want to do it when the economy is at its best, fine. But people are all this inflation. It's just not smart move from my perspective. So I think for Xbox, what they should have done, and the point that I'm originally trying to say was that it was disappointing. People was over here not looking at the innovation of the box and just listening to what other people were saying. And now, as you made the point about the digital games, and we still have DRM. It's not changed.
Yeah, it's not.
You know
It's
what I'm
not
saying?
gone. It was almost like they
it's
were
the same
already
thing.
ahead of their time originally with the Xbox One.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they managed
Their
that thing
marketing,
so poorly. And
Awful.
what they did was right the ship. What Phil Spencer did and company, I'll say Phil and company, what they did was come in and when they this generation anyway, the brilliance of the Series S, that is why they came in with the 2 SKU system here. You have the one that's a little higher priced, and then you have the Series S sitting there that's attractive to many gamers out there that just, they want a console to play the games. They may not want all the frills, bells and whistles, but they just want to play some Xbox games or maybe just some, third-party games on an Xbox. They have that console there that they can buy for $299. That was a brilliant move. And I think they did that because of their mistakes in the ball they dropped of the original Xbox One.
And because PlayStation brought the PlayStation Slim. That was it right there. The biggest seller was the PlayStation Slim. So, you're right. I mean, that's why it's funny to me when people say, well, y'all praise Phil, y'all do that. We won't praise Phil.
Somebody say Killer Phil?
Yeah, Killer Phil, let's go.
There's Killer Phil. There's little Killer Phil. Yeah, he came out kicking. Came out kicking recently. Anyways,
but that's the reason why Xbox fans, because he saved Xbox. He saved Xbox as we know it today. Xbox could have been bought off, or it could have just been, whatever. But Phil did this, and that's why a lot of Xbox gamers, myself and others included, respect him and his team for what they've done to ride the ship and to get to the point to where they're at now. They listen.
Well, let's kind of switch gears here. Let's focus on Xbox a bit, because you're an Xbox guy primarily. I've been primarily playing on Xbox as well. And it's just because that's where I've kind of migrated to over the years, because
you was a PlayStation guy when you came on GRG. That's wild.
And I love PlayStation games still. They're still some of my favorite games. And I don't care where the game is at. I'll play it on a PlayStation. I won't pay $70 for it. But because y'all out there preaching for $70 games, now it actually comes to light. This extra $10 that you're paying is paying for blocking rights. That's what they're doing with your money. That's where I see it's going now. Because honestly, it's not necessary to give these publishers that extra $10. Not in today's day and age when the games aren't any different. They haven't changed much. And you can't tell me those DualSense controls are worth an extra $10 per game. That's some bullshit.
Little known fact about the haptic triggers, or just haptic technology. It's been around since before we was born. Fonz in the 70s, in the early 70s.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
people
to me, it's gimmicky, crazy. And it's just not worth the $10.
Well, no, it's not worth the $10.
The upgrades, the other upgrades that we're getting, PC games get it all the time at a cheaper price. You can't tell me that this is.
I thought that's what I was paying the $500 for the console for. It was for all of that, all those accessories and all of that to be included for me, $500. Yeah. At one point on that too, because it's really crazy in the video game space where people come up with these notions like, oh, well, it makes you a real gamer to pay the $10 extra or whatever the case may be. But I guarantee you these people haven't gone to a car store or gone to Best Buy to buy appliances or any type of thing and go in there and look and say, you know what? I want that Maytag or that Samsung or whatever else. I want that at its higher than the retail value. No, what most people do is they look at the value. They go see where the value is and maybe try to haggle their way to get get the price to go down. Nobody pays more for anything else in any other space, in any other place. But there's people that wants to tell you that video game can hold that much weight, and you need to pay that much money. That just makes no sense. That's
when I go to a grocery store and I'm looking at meats and stuff, I'm looking for a good deal. I'm not looking for, hey, you know what? This is more expensive over here. I'm going to go over there and spend that because it's more expensive. It's got to be better. It's got no. If it's the same brand, the same thing, it's the same. But you choose to want to spend more. That's fine. Whatever. I just don't do that. Not in any other, thing out, consumer product out there, do we look for, paying for more? We're just not. I mean, we're not. We're always looking for deals. At least I am.
Me too.
Before we move on to this, I'm gonna get the super chat. Gaz, thank you very much for the $5. He says the answer is D. Gaz loves the D, by the way. That's what he said.
Whoa.
That has something to do with his sauce video today. Anyways, that was funny.
Shout out to Gaz. I see some of the stuff. I don't see a lot of everybody's stuff, but
no, you got to check out his video today. It was hilarious.
I will check it out. I will check it out. Shout out to Gaz.
But where I wanted to switch gears a bit, focus in on Microsoft here, is I wanted to ask you, being primarily an Xbox guy, speaking of companies being worried, do you think that Xbox should be worried at all about their lineup going into Game Pass this year?
No. And this is the reason why. I made a video talking about this.
You don't feel that they're lacking at least one big
they're lacking. They're lacking. No, that part right there has already been, that's the swan song. Like, I mean, it is what it is. But the one thing that's the saving grace for Xbox is the fact that 2021, they won Publisher of the Year. And everybody's seen just the potential of what it could be like.
You know what? That means nothing to me, that award. It means nothing to me.
No. What I'm saying, though, is, so the award, that's fine. But I'm saying in the sense of everybody had a feel of what gaming was, what it was like when Game Pass was clicking and when Xbox was clicking with their first party titles. And it was just only a sample size. It wasn't even the full plate, you know what I'm saying? The full course meal. It was just a sample size, and they won the Publisher of the Year. But everybody that I was talking to was like, man, come on, man. Man, there's so many games to play. I don't have time. Or everybody was just excited about it. You see what I'm saying?
So these smaller titles that we've recently gotten to Game Pass this year so far, they're enough for you as an Xbox gamer?
I'm a person that play. I'm not all that crazy about like the AAA talk. I play all different types of games, man. I love what I love is what I love, and it doesn't matter if it's a smaller game.
Nobody can take that away from you. No.
Right. But no, is it problematic that Xbox doesn't have a AAA title this year? Absolutely. But the one thing that I fall back on is the fact that they're doing it the right way for the reasons why they don't have the games out is that they're not rushing. They're not feeling pressured to have those games come out. And then you have the Starfield character that you created doing the hammer dance and it's broken. Because the one thing that's been stated by I can't remember the actual man's name that was the head of Nintendo that passed away not too long ago. But he said a delayed game is a disappointment. But a game that comes out and is bad, it's disappointment forever. And so if those games weren't ready, then kind of case in point, Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite has been great, the gameplay wise and everything, but the content is not there and it's suffering for it. So that's the thing of it. So they're taking their time to do their due diligence and bring the games out.
I totally understand that 100%. I'm with you on delays. I don't mind that games get delayed because we get a better product in the end, or we should. However, and I would never tell a developer, boo, you got to bring that game out. I don't want to delay. If the developers are asking for delays, I'm all for it. But the fact is that I feel like there's been mismanagement issues there at Xbox, and I think that the planning for 2022 was pretty poor, especially when you're putting all your eggs into the Starfield basket. And then that got delayed, and that really hurt. And for me, I don't mind indies. I play indies every now and then, but I yearn for a big game. Like right now, I am starving for something big. And for me, when I'm talking about a big game, because people will ask me, they'll call me out, what constitutes a big game for you? A big, like, open world AAA game, or even if it's linear, a AAA game. I really want that. I just don't care to just sit there and play one small game after one small game after one small game.
That's why I got a backlog. So I've been playing my backlog. So listen, I agree with, and it goes back to the discussion that I had between you guys and plenty of other people that disagree with me on the point of what I was saying. Like, I think that people are overblowing the Starfield delay. Because I was looking at it from a positive standpoint of like, look, do you want the game to come out?
Oh, I see it as positive too, but it's
Yeah,
negative for
yeah.
Xbox. It's a black eye in that they put all
Bad
their
year.
hopes
It's
into
a
that.
bad year for their first party exclusive. No, it's a bad year for them for their first party exclusives. There's no doubt about that. That's always, and you can be disappointed about that. That's no, I'm not disputing that. It's the fact that for me though, to say that we don't have anything to play is not true. We have plenty to play, and also like I was saying, like I've been knocking out my backlog. So to me, I'm still entertained on top of the stuff that's been dropping through Game Pass. That like I'm not into the Power Wash stuff, and I'm not into certain other games. But you know when Requiem comes out,
if I have to go to a backlog game, if I have to dig real deep, and then it's going to be something that's in 30 frames, and I can't play it. You know, I'm just like it's just hard to go back to those really old games, and like
I just beat Watch Dogs 2. That wasn't 30 frames though, so you know what I'm saying.
So you know what? But let me ask you this: so, is there anything you think that Microsoft can improve upon at this time?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean the messaging. Some of the messaging still is lacking. Xbox definitely needs more fighters, even though they are bringing fighters, but more first party fighters. More hack and slash.
I don't know why they didn't put more into Killer Instinct. Is it just not that successful? Maybe I thought it was a great game.
It was very successful. And this is what's crazy is that like when you can go in certain games that just came out this year and you go into their lobbies and they're dead. You could go into Killer Instinct and the lobbies will if not, there's always going to be there, and the lobbies can sometimes, if you get the right time, will be full. And I mean that's certain time of the day, not just you got a certain time of the week. So Killer Instinct is very viable. I think the one biggest issue with that, and Phil told me this himself, was that they were looking for the right studio, and so Killer Instinct is one of the most unique titles out there. There's really nothing like it. And so when you have the programmers that was working on the game and they're no longer working on it, it's going to be hard to try to find the proper studio to go and do it right. Now, NetherRealm is something that I would, that's a dream come true, stuff like that. But I don't want Killer Instinct. I don't want anything to be rushed anymore, because the Xbox One, they did a lot of rushing and it turned out to be worse. And it's like Crackdown 3, even though I love the story of Crackdown 3, the multiplayer just wasn't it. So I just think that's the thing that Microsoft needs to do. Bring more hack and slash, more JRPGs, more fighters.
variety, more variety.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to want. Yeah. Are you in the same camp as I am in that you'd like to see them expand and possibly, make a sort of PlayStation-esque game, third-person action adventure?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, they had them, but
people really put a lot behind it, money and
Rise was one. I mean, hey,
Rise
could crawl, for God of War could walk, man. I don't want to hear anybody talk about that.
Man, I don't. They're completely different, but the mechanics are completely different.
Over the shoulder,
but the mechanics are different.
But I'm just saying the visual
is very generic in Rise. Rise is beautiful. Rise is and it's an okay game. It's not terrible. But I feel like it's something that they could have expanded upon. I think Rise 2 could have been something special.
Absolutely.
They could have made the mechanics better. Quantum Break was trash to me. But then again, I don't like that studio's games very much. I'm just not a fan. Okay. Yeah, I just find them boring. But is there something that you wish that Xbox can bring back from the dead? What, is there anything? Really? Scalebound. Really?
Scalebound. That was so original.
You want their Forspoken. You want it back.
I want it back. I want it back. I mean, that game was everything, man. That right there was the game. Now, it could have been an absolute disaster, but that game was so different for Xbox in the sense of, especially for the Xbox One. That was it right there. Like, okay, you tapping into the Japanese market. You're adding multiplayer. This has a really cool angle to it where you have dragons, you get it's a hack and slash, it's a multiplayer, it's all in one. Like this is crack. I was so hyped for it. And then my boy Rand Arthur, he had to give me the information, and I didn't want to believe it. And maybe to this day, maybe I got too emotional, and that's why Rand probably don't talk to me like that now. Because I said, Rand, don't you say nothing like that to me. No, don't you dare. Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. And shout out to Delilah, because I know that was
a game she wanted as well, right?
Yeah. She made a video, a really good video talking about it, and it.
Yeah, I remember that video.
It still touches my heart. But also another.
Guess what, Kmega?
It's dead. Leave it alone.
Oh my God! You know what, Fonz?
It's dead.
It probably is dead. But another game, and you'll probably be surprised with this, is Recore. I think Recore should get another opportunity.
Okay. But
you said put money behind it.
Okay.
It's a decent game.
Yeah, Recore. It looked like it could be a fun game in the trailer and stuff, but it just didn't come to fruition. Let's say, for me.
It was a lot of blank areas, but when you got into the dungeons or the areas where we had to we had to do a lot of the platforming and stuff like that, the game really came alive. I really enjoyed that game, but you could tell that game just was on a limited budget.
Then again, they poured a lot of money, but then again, PlayStation poured a lot of money into Horizon Forbidden West, and I found that dull. And it looks incredible.
The story's not good, but the game itself is. I think the mechanics.
So I'm just saying, in relation to Recore, even if they put a ton of money behind it, I didn't think that the story, the narrative, or the things you would do in the game was all that. I don't know.
Okay. Lost Odyssey is definitely a game that needs to come back. There shouldn't be that game that would be the great. See, Rise could be the answer. Could be Xbox answers to God of War. I know that some people would say, well, how could you? But
it looked incredible. Even at 900p, it was beautiful.
Right. And that, to me, is that's that game that you need to have that. And that's something that Xbox needs, is that story-driven, over-the-shoulder, first person, whatever you want to call it, what people call it. But also with Lost Odyssey, that's something that could be the counteract for if PlayStation does acquire Square Enix or just keeps doing these deals. That could be your the Xbox version of Final Fantasy, of course. Then I think that the studios, like what Ninja Theory is going to be doing, I think that a lot of people sleep on them. I think that they're going to do crazy, amazing stuff, and Compulsion as well.
I think as far as Ninja Theory with Hellblade, it was beautiful. Gorgeous, just boring for me. I think it's just a boring walking simulator. It's the combat for me wasn't that cool to play. I quit playing the game probably 3 hours in because it was just I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it?
It's beautiful. Yeah. And it's not, I'm not hating on Ninja Theory because I love some of their older titles. Heavenly Sword is one of my favorite games from the PS3.
Great game.
Love that. I wish they would bring that back.
That's what I'm saying. Well, they can't bring that back. That's a Sony problem.
I know it's owned by Sony, but make a game like that.
Yeah, like that.
Because that was like God of War. Yeah, it was kind of like God of War. It was their version, but with a female protagonist, and I thought it was great. So if they brought back something like that, and have like a traditional old style God of War, but with today's visuals and stuff, it'd be badass. Now Hellblade 2, I am looking forward to it because they are putting more emphasis on the combat and stuff. So that I am looking forward to it. I really think that it looks great. I just hope that it performs really well. I think that if the combat is improved, I'm all about it. I'll definitely play that through.
Okay, so now this is these are my last two right here. And this is I'm all into the fighters and everything, so Killer Instinct is a must. But if they after this deal with Activision, could you imagine seeing and after the success of Multiverse, could you see a version, an arena fighter that's like Smash Brothers Multiverse, that Xbox could come out with their IPs as the characters in that game? I think it would do. I think it might hit if it played a lot like Multiverse does, and they just had their own characters and stuff. But we have Multiverse, and they have tons of characters, and they have tons to come. Xbox would have tons of characters.
No,
They
but
would
the
have
amount of
cinematic.
characters they have is insane.
Think about
Insane.
this though. You got Doom Guy, you have Master Chief.
True.
Of course,
I'm not
you
thinking
gotta
about
bring
all
my boy
that.
Locke.
Yeah.
You got Cameo. You have a Sea of Thieves character in there.
I may
and then
be
all
in the
Activision's
minority,
a Flash.
but
Yeah.
but you mentioned it. I
Yeah.
liked Cameo back in the day. I thought it was a fun game.
It was a fun game.
Yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, no, that's another thing too. And that was the other thing that my last point was going to be. Xbox should tap into some of those old IPs. You know what I'm saying? Like I was playing, and a lot of people probably going to say EU, but I was playing Phantom Dust not too long ago. And I was like, God, this game is so original. Like, there's really not. I'm all about games that are
I know
very
you
original.
like it. You and Miles Dampier has been saying that forever. You guys both
Shout out to
want
Miles.
Phantom Dust back. And
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
it. It's
watched
like,
like somebody did like a mini documentary on it on YouTube. And I remember playing the game back in the day. It was fun. It wasn't, a bad game at all. It was so different for its time. That game was addicting. It was like a lot of people played it. And I understand the appeal, but I don't care to play it today, but I get it. I understand it. I played
What
it
about
back in the day.
Atagi? Because that's a game that's a game that would fit into
that
this
too.
genre. Atagi would be fantastic because that right there, that's a From Software game. That would be that type of game to be into the Dark Souls type of vibe. On top of with it's a hack and slash as well. Yeah, there's Xbox.
There's a
should
ton
tap
of
into the
games.
old stuff.
Yeah, you're right. They could
all that.
Yeah, they could very well, have their own multiverses style game as well with all those characters. Because I forgot, how dare me forget that they have all of ZeniMax and the characters there and all these other studios that they have as well. It's like, man, Activision Blizzard, those come aboard, you got more. There's tons of stuff they could do there. So yeah, I get it. And you know what? I wouldn't put it past Microsoft to try something like this in the future because they seem to look for that next big thing. They did it with PUBG with a battle royale type thing. Hopefully, they do something. That would be cool to see. But for me, when I, looking at older franchises, again, it's not a first party at all, but it's an old Ubisoft franchise that I wish they would bring back in it. Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell to me, on the OG Xbox it was awesome. It was amazing. I would have said Morrowind as well, way back when we played Morrowind on the OG Xbox, but they own Bethesda now. So it's all good. They've got them. And that's why I think next year, Starfield is going to be such a bright spot for Microsoft. It's going to really put them on the map as far as Xbox ain't got no games, BS. Starfield is going to put them on the map. I think Starfield is going to be a generational game, like people are touting. I really do believe it will be. I think this is a game people are going to play for many, many hours. They're going to put many hours into this. And I say this because I'm going to put many hours into it.
Me too.
It's my genre. I love Bethesda games, and I'm definitely going down that lane. And before anybody says it, no, I did not play Fallout 76 because that is not what I wanted to play. I like Bethesda's single-player experiences. And all of their single-player experiences that they put out, whether it be the Elder Scrolls series or Fallout series, have all been fire. All of them. And they've, what's funny? Most of them have been Game of the Year contenders as well, and winners. So Bethesda makes some amazing RPGs. So I can't wait for Starfield. Last question. And I just seen I got a dislike there. Thank you very much for saying.
Oh wow! It wasn't for you. It was probably for me. So it is what it is.
Yeah. But no. My last question to you is: what is the next game you're looking forward to? It doesn't have to be on Xbox. It could be PlayStation or PC.
Well, I mean, the game got delayed, so I'm trying to think the next game after that. It was Midnight Suns, but I was anticipating. That was my most anticipated game.
Oh, really?
I was like, yeah, let's go.
Big Marvel fan.
Yeah. Well, just
I can see on the wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You see it on the wall. Yeah. So I'm like just a fan of I like games from that genre. I like XCOM. type games and RTSs and just everything about it, because they're deep in lore and all that stuff. And I just love the strategy side of those type of games. But yeah, that was my most anticipated game. But since that's not there, so I have to probably go with and then the other game after that was the Harry Potter game, but that got delayed. So there's a game that's coming out in November called Steel Rising. It's from the developer called Spiders. I like all of their games that they've come out with. They came out with Technomancer. They've also done Greedfall. Love those games, and so I'm looking forward to that game because they're not it's not a AAA title, but it's one of those games that's in my wheelhouse. So that would be the game that's I'm really anticipating right now.
Wait a minute, didn't they patch Greedfall to hit 60 frames?
Oh yeah,
that's what I can jump into because I tried to play that game, but the 30 frames was so bad in that game. It was so stuttery. I'm definitely going to try that one. Go back.
Yeah, that game is great. I loved it. I beat it last year. Because I had to go back to it as well. So
the next one I'm anticipating is God of War Ragnarok, but of course I can't buy it day one. $70. Can't
Me neither.
It.
Me neither.
But
do it either.
When that goes on sale, I'm buying it right away. Fun speculation. Thank you very much, Mav, with the $5 super chat. Says, keep up the great work, Fonz. Great to see Kmega on here. Question for the fighting game guru, Kmega. Will we see a new Soul Calibur, you think? Question mark.
Bruh,
didn't we just have one like a couple years back?
Yeah. Matter of fact, when I get off of here in a couple of hours, I'm going to do Fight Night. So I'm going to play Soul Calibur 6. I think so. I think it sold enough, but at first it was looking pretty shaky because they were saying that because Namco said, "Look, I mean, if this game doesn't do well, then we're just probably going to have to shelf it." But I think the game is done well, especially with the added special characters that they've added to it. I think that we'll see another sequel. So probably right after that we get the announcement of Tekken 8. So
well, with that, I want to thank you for coming here today. We've talked for a good hour and almost 40 minutes because
we went overtime.
Yeah, we went real overtime, and that's because it was a couple of great friends getting back together and talking games, and it's always a good time talking to you, Kmega. I do appreciate what you do out there in the community, so thank you very much. Tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Oh man! And especially appreciate you, fun speculation. That's why I don't really say his name that much because I always
Mav. That's Mav.
Mav. Yeah, that's his name. Mav. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, bro. Go check out his podcast. But yeah, check out the GRG Podcast every Friday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We do this, have fun. It's it's been, man, I can't believe we've been going on like 6 years.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
6 years of knowing each other in the community.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So but then still going strong, man, doing what
we're both on camera now. It's nice. Like I get to see
it's different. People get to see me if they haven't seen me. Yeah. So I mean I grew a beard and everything so at this time, but
he grew the beard just for the show. He grew it this week.
I did.
Just 1 week.
Out like that. Also, I do Fight Night. I do this thing called Fight Night Sundays where we play all different types of fighters. Sometimes it's me just by myself, and then other times my boy Yobi or Game Down Sites, Sir X-Man, or other people, the Don will come in and we'll play all different types of fighters. We're not just predicated to just one fighter. I just want to show the love of fighters and let people get introduced to it because if they're not into fighters that like I'm this OG great best fighter of all time, I get my ass kicked sometimes. A lot of times if I play the wrong fighter, but
that's why I stopped playing fighters. I got my ass kicked by young people. Man.
Right, but I love the competition from it.
You know what it is? It's my son. Yeah. It's my teenage son. He just whoops my butt at all those games. Even though last week we played the hell out of multiverses for like the whole day, but he destroys me.
He destroyed. Who did he beat you with?
He uses different characters all the time. He just would do random characters. But yeah, he beat me with Shaggy. He beat me with Superman. He beat me with who was it? The little purple chick with the weird. I don't know. Anyway.
With the afro. Yeah.
She shoots her hand out at you. Anyway.
Yeah.
He even beat me with the rain dog, and that thing sucks. I tried to use that. It's horrible.
He sucks. He
But
sucks.
yeah,
I use Arya. I went ahead and I seen that they had a Game of Thrones character, and I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So I get down. But yeah,
well, you know what? I'll say this. I'm still a huge Game of Thrones book fan. I just didn't like the last season very much on TV, but
I love the last season. Last episode was it blew my. I was like,
but I still love the previous seasons were amazing.
Yeah. Are you going to see the new show that's coming out?
Yeah, I'm going to check it out because why not? You know, it's a prequel. Why not? You know, hopefully they don't cheese it up at the end. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully, but
anyway,
let me finish. Yeah,
go ahead.
Fight Night Sundays. I'll be doing it here. Normally I do it around like 8:30, 9 o'clock p.m. But we'll be doing it a little bit earlier. But also the next podcast on my boy Xbox448's channel. Now you talk about a channel that's been up there forever. I think
he's been doing that for like 8 years, huh?
Almost 9. Yeah.
Yeah, so, he's got to be.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man. I've been doing Xbox448 for a long time. Good brother, man. And then that's that. And then I do the Dev and the Gamer with my boy the Don. We do that every other week. And so just come and check out the content, man, on my channel and on Twitch by the same name, Kmega405. If you want a game, it's Kmega405. On PlayStation, it's K-Pop. Like Tupac, but just put K-Pop and you'll see.
Nice. All right. Well, it was good to have you. And thank you, everybody in chat that was here today. You guys have all been awesome. It's great to see familiar faces out there every week. And I seriously don't know how much that means to me. I really love the people, everybody who listens to the show as well. You know, people on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that can't make it Sundays. And they're like, look, I listened to you the next day. And that's just amazing to me. Like, people come to see old guys talk about games and stuff.
Yes.
It blows my mind that you guys love to hear the show and stuff. And that's why I continue to do it. And I will be
proud of you, Fonz, man. I'm glad I told you, man. You got the talent, you got the chops, man.
You man, like I said,
man.
RDX is still going strong. I do that every Tuesday on Dealer Gaming's channel, of course. And pretty soon, funny enough, we're not even on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything with RDX yet, but we're about to be finally after 5 years.
Yeah, y'all gonna really blow.
Yeah, we need to do that because it just, there's a whole new world out there as well, a big audience out there. So I'm sure people will like to hear that as well there. I got a late super chat here from Hargeet, my boy Hargeet Shani. He says, can't believe I made it before the show finished. Should just make it 2 hours, Fonz Gaming. We talked about all the topics and did what we did today. Hargeet, rewind it, watch it back or listen to it. We had a lot of great conversation today. Again, thank you and thank the chat. And next week I won't be here. I am going to be camping with the family, so I won't be doing a show next week. I'll be back the following week with another show. Until then, game on.
Thank you, guys.